The name Skagway means place where the north wind blows. I also think it's the east, the west, the south wind. We got to do an excursion called the Best of Skagway. Well, the Best of Skagway, and we spent 3 minutes in Canada. Skagway actually came about during the gold rush of 1898. It was actually a few years before that. A man with the last name of Moore settled Skagway, but he called it Mooresville. I don't know why the name Mooresville didn't stick, but I do know that it eventually was named after a Tlingit word, which meant land of the north winds. This is Becky. She was our tour guide. Skagway was just the first stopping point for those on the way to the Yukon in search of gold. Each traveler had to carry 2,000 pounds of goods, and they only had their backs to carry. Passes what they were using, but Moore was hired to find a better path over to the Yukon. He did eventually succeed in creating a better path, but it was still pretty treacherous. In fact, only about 20% of travelers made it to their final destination. Years later, they created what is now called the White Pass Railway. The White Pass Railway was in use until like 1980. It's a narrow gauge train system, and I have no idea how they built this rail up here. I was not expecting to get rained on inside the tunnel. Author Jack London actually penned this the Dead Horse Pass for, well, obvious reasons. Also the stretched land that inspired the Call of the Wild. At the end of the ride, we went to Liarsville. In the gold rush, a bunch of reporters came to report on the story. None of them actually wanted to go on the treacherous journey, so they just stayed here and they made up whatever they want, hence the term Liarsville. The motto was never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Tour then took us to the Red Onion Saloon. The Red Onion is a remaining house of ill repute in Skagway. The Red Onion actually enticed women to come and work for them by telling them that each of them could decorate their own room however they wish. Things like they could choose their own wallpaper. When renovating, they pulled back 18 layers of wallpaper. Their estimation is about 180 women worked through the Red Onion in 2 years. When Skagway was settled, most of the people could not read or write, so the church buildings were color-coded. The Catholics were green, the Pentecostals were red, and the Mormons, they were brown. And finally, we learned the story of the most famous con man, Soapy. It's a cool story. Let me know if you want a more detailed video on that. We then braved all of those north winds and walked back to our ship. It sits in the same harbor where they came in all those years ago. So I'm a teacher on summer break and I teach things. So, what should we learn about next?